and welcome back to The Best Thing You Watched This week. We've got Chris from Movies and Munchies, myself, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. If this is one of your things that you listen to every week on audio podcast or video podcast, it means the world to us that you spend some of your time on a Sunday morning or whenever you watch it. We love our community. I think we've grown quite a decent community, and some of that has filtered into the audio exclusive content. Wherever you listen to podcasts, that's where we do extra content like exclusive reviews and things that are not the best thing that we watched this week, as well as news and entertainment, things that we're looking forward to in the coming week. And some of that then filters off into our Patreon, and we have an amazing Patreon videos there at the moment, over 60, ranging so many things from drinking games to skits to deep analysis of movies, or having a guest on with us talking about a topic that they've suggested, all for just £1 on the Patreon. Going back to the audio, this week's exclusive movie review is one that Chris and I have both never seen. And
shameful.
It is shameful. I've actually seen the sequel series to this, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
I thought I had seen it, but then when I started watching it, I was like, yeah, I definitely haven't seen this.
Bring on the hate, the disbelief, the just incredulosity. Is that it? I don't know. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
We both watched that for the first time.
So we will be reviewing that in our audio segment, but there's a lot in the video segment. If you are one of our Patreons, you will get the full video of both audio and the first bit, like a complete video on the Patreon, just as part of the weekly content that we put up there. This week's Patreon, we're going to be talking about directors, our 3 top favorite working directors. And that again was a Patreon suggestion, which I really appreciate. It was a good topic to talk about. Chris and I struggled. It was a tough one to do, but I think it was a pretty entertaining one because there's actually a plethora. When it came down to it, we were surprised by how hard it actually was to narrow it down to 3. Chris had something like 15 honorable mentions, which he had to kind of bring back. So if you want to support us and you want some exciting, different content, you want more of us, apart from this 2-hour podcast, then you can head over there for just £1 a month, which means the world to us. I think we're building a great community there as well. But first, Chris.
Yes.
What did Yoda say for the first time when he saw himself in 4K? What did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K for the first time?
I don't know.
HDMI.
That's awesomely terrible.
Yay! Ruben's back with the dad jokes.
Nice. Oh, goodness. Oh, my gosh. Okay, that was good. Do you have any more at this moment, or are you just going to intersperse them?
I'll intersperse them. Just I'll trip you up.
Okay, fair.
Keep it fresh. So why don't you tell us about the competition?
Okay, so the movie quote quiz. Last week, we had 3 winners that came in on the same day. That was outstanding. The Bunny Dojo, which they've won before, and I love that name. I love that channel name.
The greatest name, yeah.
It's so good, yeah. Tara Briscoe and Nostromo all got it correct, so nice. The answers were Sweeney Todd, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I was never getting Pee-wee. Like, seriously, dude. What the hell?
The theme was Tim Burton movies. So,
are you telling me Tim Burton directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Right.
I am so disappointed in Tim Burton right now.
Dude,
what
come
the hell,
on.
Man? Come on.
Large Marge? Come on.
No. Oh.
That nightmare stuff right there. You know?
No.
I mean, hey.
Good one.
Okay. So this week, this actually might be easier. I don't know.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So,
Let's
okay,
see.
you ready? All right, number 1. I'll have you know the first 2 points scored in the NBA was a Jew. Number 2. Nice one, Higgins. Wasted is when you have a hankering for ice cream.
Okay.
And then number 3. So how is the elevator business treating you, Ruben? Yeah? No?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give us the answers in the comments. We'll give you the shout out next week.
Can't believe you included my name in the quotes this week.
I know it caught me off guard at first, and then I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
All right. Ruben, do you have a question for us?
I do.
Okay.
Let me just pull it up so I get it right. Oh, here it is. Cool. You're offered $100,000 or £100,000, whatever your currency is, to recite 90% of a movie. What movie are you choosing?
Can it play along with it? Like, can I watch it while I do it so that I get the order, or do I have to just do it all by memory?
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't think there's any real rules. I think the question is basically asking, it's a movie that is around your family that you guys just quote all the time. Like, that's the movie.
I would do Empire Records, not because I've seen it like the most times ever, but because I was so drunk one time, but I was quoting the movie like 30 seconds before each line was delivered.
Oh my gosh.
And annoying everybody around me because my friends had never. Yeah.
Oh my God! Shut the hell up.
Yeah, they had never seen the movie. I'm over there just laughing my butt off because I know what's coming up, and so it's funny to me. I thought I was being funny. I was not being funny. Well, I was funny. I was definitely funny. But anyway, yeah. What about you?
Fifth Element, all the way. Like that's a movie I'll just randomly start quoting, and I can do, if it's on as well, I can probably do the whole movie, including I will try the,
that's impressive.
Yeah, I will. I said try, and my dog will run out because the squeak of the voice that is happening. But it's got so many amazing quotable lines like. Me supreme being, me protect you, sleep, or Ruby Wax's all that characters' lines. Oh yeah, call me my man. I don't feel so good. Or Bruce Willis getting held up, and he goes, "That's a nice hat," and he goes, "You like it? Give it." I mean, there's so much.
I love that scene.
It's one of the greatest scenes in movie history.
Oh, man. All right. Well,
yeah, so let us know in the comments, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'd love to hear what movies everybody, like, that's their go-to. Like, they know it, Oh. All right, shall we dive into the best things we watched this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, okay. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. The embargo's not up on this, so I'm not going to talk much about it yet. Mm-hmm. This is more of a social reaction than a review. But I had the opportunity to go see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Nice.
If you enjoy this series, this franchise, you're in for a treat. The pacing is nail biting and intense. I mean, it does take a couple of moments. It's crazy
because it's 2 hours and like 40 minutes, right?
And I never felt the time. Wow. Like, I was concerned because I don't remember what Avatar: Way of Water was. That over 3 hours, or was that about the same?
It felt about 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that one, I was like dancing in my seat because I had to pee. It was just kind of like, I was like, just let's get on with it. You know what I mean? This one, I didn't want it to end. It was just the action sequences, and there's the one with them has been shown in the trailer with the jump. Okay, that's like that much of the movie. It is insane. They infuse humor into this movie a lot more than has been present in a bunch of the other movies.
Oh, okay. And is Simon Pegg getting more time as well then?
No, he's not in it a ton.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
he's great for what he has.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah. But all the humor works because it doesn't feel shoehorned in. It's natural comedy that's coming through. You know, just some little sarcastic comments here and there that really work. For me, the standout was Haley Atwell. She
really? I've been excited to see her. I mean, I love her anyway, but yeah, she's great.
She was an excellent addition. Pom Klementieff, though, wow. So first off, it's cool to see her because lately the only thing we've ever seen her in, like the majority of the time, is with her little antenna as Mantis.
Yeah, as Mantis, yeah.
Yeah, and so now in this, she doesn't talk for a good chunk of the movie, but she doesn't need to.
Right.
You get what's going on in her head and the type of person she is. And there are some phenomenal action sequences with her.
Amazing. I'm so glad she's getting these roles. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, the whole movie has there's a personal level to it. It's weird. It's like some of these, I mean, you know, they've harkened back to, you know, like they used the flashbacks or whatever of Michelle Monaghan, you know, as Tom Cruise's wife, and the previous ones, you know, as
they
like
did that on Fallout. Yeah, they even included her, didn't they? So
yeah, just as the emotional pull, some of that. But I don't think it's been as much. It's been more on the focus of maybe the danger to the world or something like that, you know. And this one has both, which has been really nice. So it's
so you know, is this continuing on from the story, or is it a new mission?
It's a new mission. You because I have, like, my daughter-in-law has never seen any of the Mission Impossible movies, but we're going next week to a fan screening, and so she's like, do I have to watch these? And I'm like, here's the thing, you don't have to have seen any of the other ones because the story is a standalone type of thing. Yeah, you know, they each of them, for the most part, carry they're singular within the movie. It's the character arcs that are farther reaching, and so if you've never seen one, going into this, there's going to be a couple of elements that won't hit nearly as hard or be as emotionally engaging as they are if you've seen at least from like 5 on. But
Rebecca's still in this one, right?
She
Ferguson?
is. Yes.
Is she good in this? Because she's excellent.
She is excellent. Yeah. Yeah. She's so I enjoyed. Yeah, there's so many parts within this that are just so good to watch. Well,
I look forward to your full review.
Yeah, I say stay away from all of the trailers, though, because when we went and saw Indiana Jones this just a couple days ago, they showed the trailer, and I had never seen that trailer before, and it just shows too much. It shows too much of the action sequences where, because I hadn't seen it, I walked in and I'm like, just nail biting at parts. And the third act is like literally breathtaking. Like, I'm not sure how much I was actually breathing during it because it was just so intense.
The ending, this is what had me worried, because so many things, Fast and Furious, Spider-Man, everybody is doing part 1 and 2. And, you know, even Spider-Man this week, when we talk about news, I was going to talk about it, but that part 2, which has been done for Spider-Man, is going to be delayed probably quite a bit.
It's 3 more years, I think, until 2027.
And it was meant to be coming out next year.
Yeah. This, so I don't know if this, I think part 2 has already been filmed, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know that for sure. But from the story standpoint, we have a resolution in part to a story. So it doesn't feel mid-action, but it does feel like the story has more to tell. if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like like I felt satisfied walking out of this. Like I hadn't been, like whatever it was, the Fast X. I mean, it just.
Yeah, that's like mid-punch almost, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not cool. This one has a natural break point to it, and it reaches that, knowing now that we're going to continue on from here, and so it's it's like next chapter. So it works.
Nice. Talking about natural breakpoints, this week on Netflix we had The Witcher Season 3 drop its first 5 episodes, and then in July we're getting the next 3. So I, for some reason, was able to watch all 8. And so the breakpoint that they're talking about, the directors literally said, we watched Stranger Things, and we saw how they broke it up, and we thought, that's interesting. We'd like to do that because we have a natural breakpoint. I take issue with that because it's not a natural breakpoint. It's literally mid-action. It's knife point to the throat, and that's where we stop. That's not natural. That's mid-scene. It doesn't... I understand what they're saying, but actually episode 6 takes place from that moment and then spirals out of like big action sequences in that zone where they are. And that is the big story. Episode 6 is the best episode of The Witcher I've ever seen, and one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. And this is where I take issue with them splitting it up, because they have a very bad word of mouth at the moment, because Henry Cavill's moving on. People feel for Henry anyway because he lost Superman, and then he got it again, and then he lost it again. Like, it's like the worst story ever. And so now he's gonna go on with everything that he takes to the screen, his big personality and all the money and eyeballs that he brings. He's gone to Amazon to do 40,000 Space Marines,
Warhammer 40K.
Warhammer, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think they've done themselves a massive disservice, and he was so passionate about The Witcher anyway, and the reason why he's left is because they've gone so far, they're strained so far from the books that he himself didn't want to be a part of it anymore. They just had that. So, and he's been the bigger man. He's not like poo-pooing them on the internet. He's just saying, I wish Liam Hemsworth the greatest. Even on his Twitter or his Instagram, he's saying, I'm so looking forward to Liam's take on Geralt of Rivia because it's such a nuanced character. What's really sad is this is the best version of Geralt we've seen from Henry. We've seen so much more emotion, many more dialogue lines. First, his seasons didn't have that at all, really. It was just gruffing and roach or no. Yeah. This time round, we get some background story, like we get lines about his mother. There's literally like actual content building character, and that's what the first 5 episodes are. So if I were reviewing the first 5, I'd say I always wanted to stick with Geralt, Ciri and Yennefer. That's for me where I was drawn into. Whenever they jumped back to the politics, I just felt like I was watching the boring parts of Game of Thrones. And some parts of Game of Thrones with the politics was done well, but some of it was just like, just take me back to the characters I want to see. And then we had amazing action sequences, which I thought were like done really well. The CG for the most part was okay. It was a bit up and down. But I kid you not, episode 6 is incredible. And the 7 and 8 are great. It does leave us on a bit of a cliffhanger. So they fully expected to have Henry back when they were writing it. And there's going to be a break now because Liam's got to get into that character. But the directors have again said that there's this weird meta use of how they're going to transition Liam's character. And I didn't like the sound of that at all. I don't need clever. I just need it to work.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say like 6, is like the best one of the series, because I think it was episode 5 where it really, I liked the beginning, but then I kind of lost interest through so much of this season.
Yeah, I was kind of bored. Like I said, I was just jump back to the stuff that's interesting.
Yeah, I was really struggling to stay engaged. And then we get to episode 5, and I was beginning to, I mean, we see that's where we get like some really good interactions. I thought the storytelling itself was even better.
That sequence is wonderful because you literally are investigating stuff that's happening around this big masked party. And the way they filmed this episode, I thought was so clever.
It was wonderful, yeah, because it worked, you know. And at first, I thought I was watching a flashback type of thing.
I thought it was
and then
weird.
I'm like,
I thought I'd hit the controller, and I'd gone back to the beginning of the episode. I was like, "What in the?" No, but this is different, but it's also very much the same.
Yeah. It was cleverly done. Yeah, and that was where I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is really great, and then we end.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's just rude, and
yeah, and the episode 6 is the one people are waiting for. If they were going to split it in two, I would have done like a feature episode for the one in July and let everybody watch that 6, because now they're going to forget anything they enjoyed and they're going to come back to a big action episode without that emotional content, without that pull, because it's a month and people have, in the world of entertainment, we watch so much. We do. At night, we're probably watching a movie, an episode of this, TV, we're distracted with work. So by the time a month has passed, I'm not sure Netflix understands the binging world formula that they started. And now they're changing it up. And there's some that it might work for, but then you should do it in like a week to week. This 5 episodes and 3 is bonkers.
Yeah, that makes it, especially because you said, right, the last 3 episodes aren't any longer. There's nothing.
No, they aren't. Yeah.
It's just
you could have done
the
4
last
and
3
4,
episodes.
in fact, because then 5 naturally breeds into 6.
Right into 6, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been fine, because then 4 was just kind of just there. You know, and then you leave everybody on 5, 6, 7, and 8, which becomes very memorable.
Yeah. Instead of annoying them, thinking that a cliffhanger like that with like a knife to the throat is like, we all know he's going to survive. It's Geralt. Like, so what are you? Is he going to survive? Are there more seasons? Liam Hemsworth's coming, but he's coming as a zombie because he's dead.
Well, that's the only way they're going to explain how he looks so much different.
Oh, you got a spell thrown at his face, and now he's morphed into something else.
Oh man! All right.
Anyway, so the reason why that's one of the best thing I watch with all my moaning is just episode 6 is incredible, and 7 and 8 is great. Because I'm coming off the high. But maybe it's not as incredible as I thought, because I was so disappointed with the beginning. It feels like, and I said this about season 2, it feels like it's a setup for the next season. There's still world building. There's so much stuff. But like we're 3 seasons in now. Yeah, and there were characters that I love, like Jaskier. But I just didn't know that we needed that much of a storyline with his love life there. It felt like it was detracting from what was going on. So I know people like his character and they wanted to give him more screen time, but when he was with Geralt, when he was doing songs and flirting with other people, that's when it worked. But for some reason they wanted to do this storyline, and I'm not even sure that's what happened in the books. Like he is a player for sure, and he does sleep around, absolutely, but it felt forced.
It was a weird tangent there. I mean, I did like him when he was responsible, like watch after Siri.
That was good.
You know,
it was good.
Because he's like, I'm not the one
that
to do
person.
this. You know, so that's great and that works. But yeah, there were weird choices in this, and you got to think too that for them to still continue to build the world, like we should be deep into the story by now. You know, it's not like you.
Why is the Wild Hunt flying? That's not. They basically come out of portals and they come into our plane and then they're running and they bring ice. But they were like in the air, and I was like, "What is happening? Stop it!"
Oh goodness. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. What's next on your list?
The series has not concluded yet, but I watched the whole thing and I loved it. Hijack on Apple. And I didn't love it just because it has Idris Elba. I mean,
Yeah,
that was a good starting point.
That's not true. Come on. We all know your love for Idris.
Oh, totally. No, shameless. Yes, absolutely. But the tension of the story and the cliffhanger endings that they do from each episode was just, it was so good. I loved the claustrophobia of the, just the confines of the plane, and the fact that they were still able to give surprises here and there on things. Like, even if you know the trajectory, or you think you can predict it, something else comes in and you're like, wait a minute, what? That I didn't see. Oh crap. That it amps up the peril, or the potential peril, at least.
You must have guessed that. Kirsten and I, when we were watching, we were like, we've seen too many hijacking stories. This is going to happen, right? And we're like, yeah. And then we started doubting ourselves. But then, like, later episode, oh yeah, this happened. Cool.
Well, I was the thing that I felt the ending was a little abrupt.
I didn't even
You
think
go-
it was abrupt. I thought the ending was bad.
just anticlimactic, right?
Yeah, massively anticlimactic. They didn't
you
finish
have-
the story, and it's a limited series.
You have this huge buildup, and then it just kind of goes in, and the impetus for the hijack.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's nonsense. I can't believe they did that.
Because you have this one character who is very, very ruthless, and we get an episode that focuses heavily on them, and then we don't focus on them ever again, or even that arc.
There's a satisfaction that still has not been fulfilled from the story, because when they do the reveal of why the hijacking is taking place, I was disappointed. So then when they talked about a person and that story isn't completed, I thought, oh, maybe there's more to it and that's going to be revealed. And then when they just leave it, I was like, really? Because I enjoyed every episode. Like you said, at the end of every episode, they leave it in a massive cliffhanger, and you're like, put the next one on. And then they reveal something else that you didn't see coming. You went like, really? And then also equally on the ground, equally tense. Like there's stuff going on the ground. I was like, flipping heck. One of my favorite actresses, I mentioned in my review, she's from Torchwood. So it was a spin-off series of Doctor Who, which I used to love, and she was incredible in that wonderful Welsh accent. And she brought that here, playing the mom that like needed to getting to work late, but she just comes in and owns screen time. Like she was great.
She was outstanding. Yes. Yeah.
So I loved it, and I loved Idris in it, and in fact, in my review, I was talking about how we don't know anything really about the characters except for Idris and his family, and that's integral to the storyline. But a lot of time that would be a negative where you complain, like they haven't done flashbacks and given us background stories. But we're confined to a space in space, in the air. And each episode is revealing a little bit more about the motivations and reactions of each passenger as stuff happens to them. And I think that made it more exciting because you don't know them, so you don't know how they're going to react.
The unpredictability is
you
is
put
paramount
people,
for that.
a bunch of different people from different religions, different cultures, and you squash them in a really heightened, tense situation, and the can explode with anything can go wrong. That's tense. So when you don't know the person, you're like, oh, but that's so-and-so person. We've seen their background. They're kind. They're never actually going to do anything. You don't know. They just give you little bits of information. Like there's one guy that's full of tattoos. He's just come out of prison. You're like, oh crap! Like what's he gonna? Is he gonna be a problem? And then it will kind of spin it on its head. And I thought, it's great.
Yeah, no,
Except
it was
the ending.
Yeah, that was the piece that it's like, dang it! I wish it would have nailed that. It was just kind of like, yeah. So, yeah, up until that point though, I was riveted.
Yeah,
but
no, I agree. Yeah,
cool. Okay.
I'm going to start talking about animation because I've got a lot of animation to talk about. But let's talk about, I hope this one's on your list, but this week, like a couple of days ago, Netflix finally released a movie called Nimona that, and by Chris's face, if you're listening to the audio, he's in awe. He's happy.
Very.
their Blue Sky studio was shut down at Disney, and they were the ones that were originally making this movie. So it got put on the back burner, and we weren't going to get this movie. It just wasn't going to see the light of day. Then I'm trying to think of the production studio. It'll come to me. But with Netflix and this other production studio, they finished it. It was 90% finished, but they finished it and they did the credits and did anything that it needed to do, and now they've distributed it. And I have to say, I thought this was brilliant. If Spider-Man hadn't been out this year, this would be my favorite animated movie of the year. It
Agreed.
hits all the emotional beats, like actually hits proper emotional beats, and then it's full out funny. It has me wanting to watch it again. Like, I can't wait to watch it again with my family. They haven't seen it. I was like, this is going to be so good. Also has a message about where we are now without it being forceful. Like, it's there as part of the story. Feels very real.
Yes.
But the hero of the story, his relationship, I guess, is outcasts. It's like, if you've ever felt like you're yourself as an outcast, here we have a creature that has been an outcast for a long time. We have a poor dude that has become a villain, not to his own fault, and the love of his life even sees him as a villain now. Nobody trusts him. Whole city's after them. They find themselves together and have to kind of do this investigation, which is a great way to kind of keep you engaged because there's an urgency to it. Then there's the whole city wants to kill the creature because of the history of the creature, and then there's the evil behind everything that's going on, and that all works amazingly. But the animation is so good. It's so beautiful. It reminds me a bit of Arcane mixed with a bit of Spider-Man. It was so much fun. Okay, your turn.
Okay, yes. So the message of acceptance, huge. Absolutely loved that. Was very caught off guard with how much I laughed through it. Yeah. My wife and I were sitting there, and I don't know, a day or two before I needed to review it, we watched it, and I was like, oh, well, the animation, that's why I want to see it. I knew nothing about it. I've never read the graphic novel. I didn't even know about the graphic novel. I didn't even know about the drama behind the scenes about it never being, possibly being made. Right. All of that. Didn't know any of this. My wife was, she was working on some stuff, and so we're watching, and all of a sudden, her laptop is closed. She's fully invested. We are laughing out loud. The messaging is great. The wittiness of everything. Yeah. I loved the world that has been created for us in here. That you have a futuristic, medieval setting where it works. Because we've seen steampunk.
They should clash. It's like cyberpunk almost with medieval.
Yeah, but it works, and that's I think what makes it even better, because they have crossbows, okay, but now they shoot these laser type of bolts at rapid fire. Yeah, I thought it was well imagined. And so my guess is that world comes from the graphic novel, that's how it's been set up in that. And so it's just translated here. So it's very creative. Something that stood out to me, and it really stood out to me when you were just talking, but we have the lore of the monster, and it really pounds home the misconceptions and the rumors and how a feeling of distrust or unacceptance grows into something well beyond what it actually was. Yeah. And so the mystery and the mystique of that becomes larger, and all of a sudden
broken
now
telephone
it becomes
syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's become a religion. It's become a way of life for this. Now, I did rewatch it.
I did. You watched it? Oh my gosh!
I watched it again on. Yeah, I watched it on. We watched it Wednesday night, right? And then I rewatched it again on Thursday, because I just like I was, I wanted to see it again. Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to see it, because the animation. I mean, Chloe Grace Moretz as Nimona, and Riz Ahmed as Boldheart. Their interactions and their chemistry and their journey together is so outstanding to watch. Yeah. To watch that relationship grow naturally, quickly, but I mean, because of the circumstances, but it works. The wit and the timing that Chloe Grace Moretz has, then combined with the animation that they do. Yeah. I mean, it was so captivating.
Much, I imagine that you'll catch so much more the second time or third time round as well. Mm-hmm. When she meets people, and whatever she is at that time, she will interact with people. When she's doing this thing, and she turns her head slowly, and she looks like a demon, and the adult's like, demon child. I think I laughed so hard at that bit. It was so good and unexpected.
The little boy, and she just kind of scoots back and then around the corner, and you're like, what? Chaotic. And brilliant, and I absolutely loved it, and I completely 100% agree with you that if Across the Spider-Verse had not come out this year, this would have been the best animated movie so far. I mean, it's just number 2 right now. That's all. Yeah. So cool.
What's next on your list?
I don't have anything else on my list because that was on my list. So,
all right, that's your third one. Okay,
that was my third. Cool. What do you have?
Okay, so this week, I think it's coming out on Friday. There's a new Superman series, an animated series coming to HBO. I need to get out of saying HBO. Coming to Max. It's called My Adventures with Superman. And I think it's a good time to be releasing this, considering we've just had James Gunn officially say we've got our new Superman and Lois. I think they're great choices. We'll see how they are. I mean, they look like the characters. We'll see how they are in the film. But this one is a different take on Superman, which I appreciate. It's at the beginning of Lois Lane and Clark Kent's career at the Daily Planet with Jimmy Olsen. But it's also at the beginning of Clark or Superman learning to control his powers. In fact, he doesn't have all his powers. He can fly, he can do laser vision and stuff, but we see him from his inception as the kid. They do something different about certain parts of the story, which I liked. I thought was good. The main key characters are there. There's no Lex so far in this. This is a different. So we have the trio that drives home the story of. I think, what's the story? So there's someone messing with tech that they shouldn't have, and they trying to become journalists, proper journalists for the first time, but really they're just interns, and so they have to prove themselves to their chief, who doesn't want to be called chief, and that bit is really funny. The heart of it is a very, I thought was a very real look at their relationship, like the love story. It's really funny, it's quirky, but it just feels very real. It's like the most real relationship. It doesn't have Hollywood marks on it. Even though it's animation, it just feels like, this is how a natural relationship would work if one is really nerdy and geeky and unsure of themselves. But the way you see the love story unfold in the episodes is brilliant. I've always liked that about the original Adventures of Superman with Lois and Clark, the 90s one with Dean Cain. Obviously, we have a new series now, that the live action, that's got a huge following and people are loving it and are saying it's amazing. And even James Gunn didn't cancel it. He said, no, we're going to give it time to continue, which is great for the fans. So Superman, it's got a big audience now. If you like Superman and you watch everything Superman, you're probably going to have this on your list anyway. However, if you weren't sure of what animation to pick up, this is very family orientated. So there isn't anything that is that dark. There are dark moments for sure, but it's a very light look at Superman I say light in tone. There is darkness there for sure, but it feels like you could watch this with your whole family. It's fun, but definitely a new take. Like I love the animation style. Probably the best animated flying I've seen from Superman. Like when I saw it, I was like, wow, that's really cool. I love what you've done there. So we have the trio, the main three, Jimmy Olsen. His character's somewhat developed. Obviously, we're going to be developing Clark as the reporter, but really unsure of himself because he doesn't really have any information about who he is or where he's come from. He doesn't know about kryptonite, that kind of stuff. So that's all being used as part of the mechanics to teach him stuff.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, it's fun. It's different. I don't know that we will even get another season because this is not part of the canon. I thought it was because the way it ends, because James Gunn is doing this 10-year plan where everything's connected, comics, animation, movies, right? But this apparently is part of the Elseworlds.
Oh, okay.
Worlds. So it sits outside like the Batman and
Joker,
all of that kind of sits. It's Elseworld, so alternate dimensions. But we've just had the Flash, who is doing different dimensions, multiverses. Yeah. So they totally could be a part of that. And how this starts messing with that storyline, without doing spoilers, I thought oh yeah, they're definitely setting that up to be part of that. That would make sense to me. Apparently that's not true though, so I don't know. But if they wanted to, they could easily connect it to that.
Oh, neat. Okay. Right on. How long are the episodes?
Short, like 20 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. And do you know, or is it coming out weekly, or are all of them dropping at once?
I think they're dropping the first 2 and then it's weekly.
Okay.
Up to 10 episodes. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a weekly watch, or is it watch a few at a time?
I think you can watch it as it comes out weekly. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Right
on. Okay. Ooku, The Inner Chambers is a new Netflix anime series.
Say that once more. What was
Ooku. 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 In an alternate history where the male population is nearly decimated, eligible men serve as concubines to the woman shogun inside the walls of the Ooku. So it's based off a loved manga which has sold like 6 million copies. It's had 2 feature films, live action, but this is the first time we've had a anime like this. The first episode is 79 minutes long.
Wow.
Yeah,
what?
I was blown away. It's I don't know how to explain this. The best way I can say, if you take like Cleopatra and Ben-Hur, but you put it in a period of like, Shogun, that kind of, it's a sweeping epic of many, many years. But the first episode is that they want to introduce to you what has happened to the world. Red face smallpox has wiped out a large majority of men, and so there's like 5 women to every man, so all roles get reversed. And so this shows the origins of how we get the first female shogun, and so after the first episode, we go all the way back to where it started, and then we get a love story of a monk who is captured because he's really pretty, and he gets captured and put in this castle with 800 other men. And once you enter the castle, you can never leave again because of what has happened inside the castle. They have to keep a secret. So once you're inside the castle, you never leave. Ooh. And so we see what ends up as resentment and hate into a massive epic love story. And it's heartbreaking. It's beautiful. It's like slice of life in alternate history. It feels like you're watching a painting at times. That's kind of how it's animated.
Okay.
Or feels authentic, but alternate history. So if people are going to say, well, this is another work series. No, this is a manga that came ages ago. It's been around for a long time. This is just what would happen if there were very little men left. And over a span of 80 years, the different generations now breed. Women are doing the work. Women are now like in charge. So all the women that were like concubines, or that the different work or selection, is basically role reversal.
Yeah.
Men are now very sought after. If you have a good man, you can rent him out so that he can be a sperm donor, because we need more men. Like if you have a man in your family that's considered to be big, so it's like the red light district is all men, and they just used up men. It's very dark.
Interesting though.
Yeah, really interesting, really different, brutal and sad in places. Like a really good epic is, it always has like a brutal life moment. I just don't know how much Netflix, like, they haven't promoted it. It's barely anybody knows about it, that it's on Netflix. The only reason it popped up is because that's basically all I watch is world cinema and anime. And so it's just like, oh, this thing's on here. It is an 18. So because it's like adult content. But it's wonderful. Yeah.
So that first episode is over an hour. Are the rest of them lengthy also, or are
they're 30 minutes, so unusually long.
A little
not
longer.
Short minutes, a lot longer than normal anime. Yeah. There's 10 episodes altogether, and it completes a story. So it's like we don't need any more.
So if it doesn't continue on,
if
it's
it doesn't
okay.
continue, it's fine. Yeah. It's all good.
Interesting. I mean, I like the idea of, because men are the resource that is endangered, I guess, maybe, so that that's interesting. That kind of cool. Like some of the premise, and it's probably way off, but just kind of sounds like Children of Men a little bit, where you have.
Oh yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah.
I
understand that.
I don't typically watch a lot of anime or much anime, any anime, outside of like one or two that I really enjoy. But this one sounds cool, like intriguing to me.
It's really different. Yeah. Like I could see this also just being translated for a live action TV series really easily. Those sort of period pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Very dramatic, well done. You literally could take the scripts from this and just put it in live action. Like, it's that good. Yeah.
Nice. How is the animation? Is it
it's beautiful.
Like
well
more
done.
the current?
It is current because it doesn't have many missing frames. But like I said, it reminds me of a painting because of the authentic color palettes used, all the time period. Okay. The shoguns, that kind of the robes, the kimonos, all of that. Very, very precise. Everything was.
Okay.
So from wearing your kimonos to drinking tea to the food you eat, it's all very specific. So when you have like a strand of hair on your face, they'll be like, why are you so unkept?
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you watch the subtitled version?
I watched
did you
both.
Watch it in dub?
Okay. Yeah, no, I watched both, and they're both good. Yeah. So whatever takes your fancy, I think you appreciate it. Yeah.
Outstanding.
What's next on my list? I watched so much this week.
Ruben's never-ending list of stuff that he watched.
Yeah. Delete, a Thai series from Netflix. It has 8 episodes, and I fully expected myself just to watch maybe 3 and do like this is kind of what it's about review. Maybe you'll be interested in this, but then I got hooked on the goddamn sci-fi of it. So there's this, like, it's proper soap. Soap, a dark soap. Yeah. And the core premise of it is who's going to get one over the next person next. Like, but then you introduce a gadget that inflicts mortal harm in the sense of it looks like a phone, but it's a camera. And it has like this weird large, like a large lens, but it's like it's inside of it's a really weird box design. So it's obviously someone's made it with some sort of supernatural technology or futuristic technology. We don't actually have that explained to us yet. But basically, if you take a picture, that person disappears. However, there's a bunch of lore that comes into play with this, which I really like. So it's all about how you use it, who uses it, what happens when this person does this thing with it. And when somebody knows what's it, how are they going to use it for their benefit? And it's normally the demise of someone else. So if you put this in a jealous teenager's hands, you know, that's a recipe for disaster. If you put this in a lover's hands, but knows that you've been cheating on them, then you start introducing, there's a cop in here that just comes across as dodgy the whole time. And you know there's something wrong with him. But it's one of those that you keep watching. You can't quite figure out who the bad guy is, but you know which characters you want to survive. But because of the dynamics of the MacGuffin that is the camera, or the whatever it is, you never know who's going to be alive when, which is very clever. Once you get to the ending, there's a massive reveal.
Ooh.
That has everyone confused because they didn't see it coming. I kind of guessed some of it. But I still, I have an explanation of where I think it's going to go next. It's definitely not finished.
Okay.
If they, I feel like they've filmed it already. 8 and 8 makes sense. They do those 16. I feel like we'll get, the Glory was split into, I feel like a couple of months we'll get the next. At least I hope that's the way. And I'm hoping that they explain the technology and reveal some of, where it came from, that kind of thing. But also a really intriguing storyline that's within. Not just use the MacGuffin, but there's one guy I just want to know, why? What the hell is he? Why is he doing stuff? Sorry, I'm really beating around the bush of the stuff, but the stuff is the big spoiler at the ending. So
I started watching this. I'm
okay.
1.5 or maybe 2 episodes in, and so I'm glad that you're not giving specifics because I'm
okay.
It is so. I mean, right from the get-go of the show, we're shown what happens with this camera. Yep. And then it steps that back, and then we get to learn about characters. And you're right, you see these and you're like, some of them I was confused at when you see a terrible character and they're mistreating or they're just being bad to somebody else, and that person may have the camera. Why wouldn't you just whip it out and snap the picture then? Why? but the moral dilemma is what's been getting me, because we watch these characters waver. They're so resolute, this is going to solve my problems. I'm going to do it. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can't. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Or maybe that person's not as bad. Maybe they don't deserve that.
I'm just amazed at how quick they jump to, I can totally do this. It's fine. You're killing people, man. You're deleting them.
Well, but see, that makes it maybe easier because there's no blood, there's no body, so it's
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a unique premise, and so I'm glad to hear that it continues to build to something that is questioning or even confusing.
It suffers with Thai TV-ness. And the way I can explain that is, I don't know if you've seen a number of Thai TV series.
Only 1 or 2. Yeah.
Okay, this the stuff that the way it's filmed, sometimes the way the dialogue is written, just feels like it needs to be halved. There's too much, and none of that needs to be said. Now, the cinematography at night, beautiful, well shot. Some of the horror aspects of it, great. The use of how they use the camera, brilliant.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, come on, get there.
Speed it up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm glad to hear this is worth it. That'll make me want to continue on to watch it. And nice.
Right. Last one. One more. This is a movie from 1997.
Ooh.
From a director that you probably didn't know that did this movie. Stars Mira Sorvino, Jeremy Northman, Alexander Goodwin, Gino Carlo Giamatti, Charles S. Dutton. He's the guy from Die Hard, the cop that gets shot at, and he's like, I need to call the cops from Nakatomi Plaza. That guy, he's fantastic. A very young Josh Brolin. And this is
I'm
probably...
trying to think of Mira Sorvino movies, and there's only like two that I can remember. One was Romeo and Michelle, and the other one is with he's a martial arts star. Shoot. Okay.
Brandon Lee?
No. I don't. Damn.
Okay. 1997. This movie has a mixed reactions. Interesting that on Rotten Tomatoes it got 65% from the critics and like 37% from the audience. So
really?
That way. It's also a movie that the studio messed with the director a lot. So we got most of his vision, but some of it just wasn't what he wanted. It's Guillermo del Toro's Mimic. Have you seen this?
I gotta look this up because I was actually, it was funny. I was scrolling through Max last night, just adding movies that I've wanted to watch or that I want to rewatch or whatever, and Mimic was on there as well as 2 and Sentinel. But I don't know. Let's see here. 10 years medicine.
So it's a really interesting premise. The kids have been wiped out from a disease that we have no control over. So a very smart scientist messes with the DNA of a cockroach and releases the pheromones because it's the cockroaches that are bringing in the disease, that are spreading it. So she messes with it, and it accelerates their evolution, but the pheromones basically kill off and she saves like the population, like of all the kids. And then we're skipped 8 years and something has happened to the cockroaches. I think the reason why I like it is because it has Guillermo del Toro's hand all over this, as in practical effects. The bugs, how they look, how the creatures look. It's got some good gore, but it also isn't quite traditional Hollywood in the sense that you think you know which characters will live because they have plot protection. And they're never going to do that to a kid, or they're never going to do that to this person. They're integral to the story. That's a protagonist, right? And you're like, oh, okay. I really like it. I like the film when they're showing they're using the practical effects, like how the creatures are designed and stuff. But when I think they've sometimes used CG, and you're like, oh, that hasn't aged well. But for the most part, I think this is a very misunderstood film. I also think it's so creative that you can totally see Guillermo's hand and work all over it. And it's just a shame that the studios were, messing with it, because they should know that, even if it's bad, you need to give the creator their due. From the director of Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy, like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, you know what, the movie I thought this was at first was Species. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, Natasha Henstridge.
Yes.
Hot alien. Yeah.
Yes, that's not what this is. But this, okay. It's funny though that literally last night I added it to my queue, so I'm gonna have to watch this. So okay, it holds up though.
I think so. There's an autistic kid that I love in this. He talks about everybody's shoes, and he notices somebody has special shoes, and he claps the sound that they have with 2 spoons, and he goes tick, 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 and he goes tick, 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 tick. And it's just like a nice little add into how they work a character into the story. I thought nice. Well done. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, I will stop saying of all the best things I've watched this week. Otherwise, we could be here. I watched way too much this week.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday. Me, Chris, Movies and Munchies. Our Patreon opportunity at patreon.com/thebeardedones, where there is a lot of content there for just £1. That's the entry point. There's a couple that are outside the paywall, so you can get an example of what you might be getting. Like Ruben mentioned, we put the entire podcast, the video portion that you see, and then the audio portion, except with video, on there as well. So everybody on the Patreon gets access to that if they want to watch us do it that way and not just listen to us on audio. But speaking of the audio only podcast, like we are going to be talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and just things we're looking forward to, the worst thing we watched, or at least the thing that did not make our list, news, entertainment, what's coming up. But you can find that anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And if you do head over there at some point, please rate and review us. That would be huge. With that, I believe that's it. And we will see you next week. All right. Take care.